Hello and welcome back to Read Becca. You are here for another chatty catch-up on my weekend reading and other stuff. And I have to apologize right up front for my low energy. I'm so drained. I went to a fall festival today and it was very fun. Got lots of little vendor crap, fun stuff. However, it was 90 degrees, which is exhausting to wander around for an hour in the heat. Yeah, so I am so ready for the nice, crisp, cool fall air to hit us, and it is not happening. So I think we even have hotter weather coming this next week. It's gonna be almost 100 again. So I'm ready for the summer to be done. Like, please move along already. Yeah. I think this is the last week, hopefully, and then we are gonna actually have that temperature drop. But man, oh man, summer is just not letting go. So as well, I have a lot to get through. It's a little overwhelming. I think it's out of control how many books I have right now. Yeah, so I think I am being successful at reading stuff from my shelves as I had intended this month, but there's just a lot of other stuff too. So yeah, so I have, these are my finished books from this week that I read to wrap up here, and I've got an ebook as well. These are what I've got in progress currently, and I was having a particularly difficult day and I picked up some tiny books from the library. So we've got a lot to run through in terms of books. All right, now we're going to talk first about the ebook because I finished this and really enjoyed it. I'm going to have a standalone review of it. This is The Unbalancing by RB Lemberg, and this is an advanced copy, so this will be out Tuesday. And I love the cover. I'm planning to get a physical copy because it's so gorgeous. But this is like mystical fantasy that is set in this shared universe, the Birdverse. There are some previous works. I've read the Four Profound Weaves from this series before, but this is definitely a standalone and you can go in not knowing anything. This is set on an island, and there's this kind of concept of this star that's off the shore of the island down deep in the ocean, and something's going wrong with it. So we are following two characters, one who is a poet and the other is a star keeper, which is kind of this revered singular role in their society. And so they're trying to figure out like what's going wrong with this star, basically, is the plot of the story. So it has a very soft magic kind of setup. It's not something that you're going to fully understand. By the end of it, you get a better idea of what it is, what's going on, how the world works. But I just really enjoyed the writing, the diversity. So there's polyamory in here, a non-binary character. Yeah, there's a lot. So I just found it to be short and sweet. It's very brief and just beautifully written. So the whole poetry element really grabbed me, and I enjoy that. Kind of made me think of like A Memory Called Empire, where that has a major like linguistic poetic element. So yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I will have a standalone review. The next one I finished is Binti, The Night Masquerade. So this is sci-fi, but it's in like an Afrofuturist setting, and this particular book takes place entirely in her kind of very dry desert home. So book 2 was liberally titled Home. So other than that, I don't think I can tell you very much about the actual plot of this one because it's entirely spoilers for the previous books. I did really enjoy this. I think Okorafor has such a strong authorial voice that just definitely comes through here. But for me, I've read a newer book by Okorafor, Remote Control, and I saw some elements there that also exist here, but they were better executed in Remote Control. So there's definitely been some growth in her writing, and that's fine, but you know, it kind of made me more harsh on being critical of it here. But I do actually like this series quite a bit better than I liked Remote Control. I just didn't really enjoy the character or the story of Remote Control very much, and I love Binti so far. And I would say the other kind of negative on this was that it takes place entirely in her hometown, basically. And I wanted more of the space university that was the promise of the first novella, was her traveling to the space university and then we get a very little bit of the Space University in this whole series. So I wish we got a lot more. So I could definitely see her building that out more. That would be really great. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, I really enjoyed this. So minor quibbles, basically. Those things are negatives, but they didn't really detract from my enjoyment. So yeah, this was a great wrap up to the series. Then I actually audiobooked Bellman in Black. This one I have read Once Upon a River by Diane Setterfield before. And funny enough, I was like halfway through this and I was like, man, this really reminds me of Once Upon a River. And then I was like, oh duh, it's the same author. So the writing is very distinct. Setterfield has, again, a really clear authorial voice. She writes this really quiet, atmospheric stuff. So I think Once Upon a River was much more meandering and there's many characters. Here we're just getting a single character. And it actually really reminded me of Pillars of Earth, having read that earlier this year, except that this is a single character who we start from childhood and basically go through his whole life. And we are getting, it's a story of a young child who is not the heir of a family, but has a passion for the industry that they work in, which is millinery, or they run a mill. So it's cloth and dyeing cloth, and like it's hard work, but he is so passionate about it that he winds up kind of ingratiating himself to get his place there and grow his role at this mill and eventually taking over the business. And so you see this passion for what he loves doing that reminded me a lot of Jack's story, young Jack's story in the Pillars of the Earth. So it's really similar to that. And you watch him build this successful business, and that's really like 90% of what there is to this book is him like organizing and managing the business. Once he gets going, though, he is so invested in his business and us seeing him succeed consistently, he kind of lets a lot of his life fall away and things start going wrong. And that's kind of the speculative-y element. There's like hardly anything that's speculative to this. So I read this for my Gothic project, and I think it probably fits there, but it's barely there. There's something weird and off, and that puts him into the funeral business. So he goes from purely cloth to then expanding out into everything is dyed black, and he's doing this for the first time. Like, this is not something that really exists anywhere, and he's making this big fancy funeral shop, so everyone will be able to go one-stop shop when they have a funeral. And this is all as a result of a plague. So this is a plague book, which obviously in our current times, it was interesting to see all of this kind of happen in a past time when they kind of rely on blaming things that are superstitious. So there's a lot of superstition in here, and people kind of wondering why things went wrong, why people are getting sick, and going through rituals to try and heal their family members that they were concerned about, and just feeling helpless and reaching out to anything they possibly can. And so he becomes very involved in everybody within the community and revered for kind of having this set up when they have such a need there. There's also a minor political elements, like what the state of the nation kind of is at this time, because this is definitely like historical, but I don't think it's a very big part. This is very much focused in on this one man's life, and I really love the progression of that. I think Setterfield does really well at looking at small character stories, and she did that well in Once Upon a River also, where that one you're basically looking at this tiny village and you're looking at storytelling as this core element of the village life. And so this one, I think, was even more compulsively readable than that one. That one, as I said earlier, is kind of meandering, and this one definitely had a good focus. I wish it had been more dark and unsettling. It very much leans, well, is this speculative really, or is it not? And I kind of wish it had gone all the way, but it was really fun and a beautiful, beautiful atmospheric read. So I think her prose is great. So I actually read this on audio because Jack Davenport reads it, and he probably is best known in the US for the Pirates of the Caribbean. And he also was on one of my favorite British TV shows, Coupling, and I love him. He has great voice for narration though, so it basically made me think I need to go like check and see if he has narrated anything else. So those 3 are what I finished this week. Then in progress, very rapidly, I got Disquiet by Zulfu Livanalli, and this one is for the BookTube Prize. This is set in Turkey. I'm pretty contemporary. Then I am slowly reading one essay at a time. The Pretty One by Keah Brown. I am partially through Queens of Innis Lear. Just barely started because this one's huge. And then, ironically, Station 11. So I think this is another Lindy put me onto it. I was reminded that this was on my TBR last year and I didn't get to it. I'm probably the last person who has not read Station 11. And I was reminded that it has kind of a Shakespeare tie-in. And of course, very appropriately to the last previous one, it's King Lear. So there's this actor who's on a stage performing King Lear who dies of a heart attack on stage at the very opening of the book. So there's a strong Lear connection here. So perfect timing. I just knew it was Shakespearean and completely ties in with my Lear plans for this month. So those are everything I read and everything I'm in progress with. And then the pile. So very rapidly, I think I'm just gonna tell you why I picked these things up. So I picked up 4 books. They weren't intentionally all tiny, but they are all tiny. We got a lot of short stuff, so hopefully we can get through some of it. I do want to run through these. Normally I would just wait till I actually read them, but I might not actually get to all of them before we run out of time. So the first one is Maria by Marytza K. Rubio. And this is like a collection of short stories from a very Mexican-American lens with some speculative elements and like, not horror, I think, but some spooky stuff. So I think that sounds perfect for the season, potentially, if it would ever get to fall. But Angela from Literature Science Alliance was raving about this one, so I definitely wanted to pick it up when I saw it. Then we've got Fish Swimming in Dappled Sunlight by Riku Onda, who wrote the Osawa Murders. I think everyone on BookTube has probably seen those at least, or that book, because it's wildly popular Japanese thriller. This one is another Japanese thriller. So I actually have a different Japanese thriller on my TBR this month, so maybe I'll pair them together. We will see. Then I have Adrian Tchaikovsky's Elder Race. I wanted to get this read before the Hugos, so the Hugo Awards happened just a couple weeks ago, and this was nominated for the novella category, and I didn't get to it. So I'm very excited that I was able to see it at my library and just snag it. So I love Tchaikovsky's work, and usually it's some blend of sci-fi and fantasy, so I think this is that as well. So should be very intriguing. And then we have The Employees by Olga Ravn, and I'm really excited for this one. It's like I think anti-capitalist dystopian type of thing about employees. So I don't know if this is experimental or just kind of pushing boundaries story-wise, but it's been getting a good amount of buzz, and it's a teeny tiny one. So I think this is the one I'm most likely to hang on to and read for sure out of all of these. So too many books, as per usual. So I almost forgot, even though it's right over my shoulder. However, I got the lovely, lovely Folio Society edition of Neverwhere. So this is definitely the most expensive book I own now. And the slipcase, you can see it's got birds on the back there. It's the same as on the book. So it kind of bothers me that it's upside down, except it makes sense for the book. And I love that it's shiny. And then on the back, we've got birds in the city. And there's just really lovely art inside. So this is one of my favorite books. As you can see, I've got 2 other copies here. So did I really need a 3rd copy? Yes, I did. So just lovely, lovely art. It's really, really beautiful. This is introduced by Susanna Clark as well, which is just phenomenal and has incredible illustrations on the chapter headers and has lots of full color illustrations. I think there's 9 full page illustrations in here. So I'm very excited about it because this is one of my favorites. There's another one. Yeah, it's great. And the art, I feel, really suits the book. So on to other stuff. As I said, I did Fall Festival today, so that was really fun. Otherwise, my week prior was very work focused. I had like 2 12-hour days this week, so I feel like I didn't do anything this week. I did have some stress with the pets. I think we are getting things ironed out, though, hopefully. I believe I forgot to mention, actually, now, since we were talking about gaming and stuff, I did finish Sandman like 2 weeks ago, and I don't think I talked about it at all. I don't have much to say past what I said already about this, and I did a dedicated initial reaction to Sandman, the TV show, and I feel pretty much the same, where I really, really loved it. I thought it was a phenomenal adaptation. Some of it got further away from being as direct as the first few episodes in terms of translating what is literally on page to the screen. So they took more liberty, I guess, with rearranging things and kind of translating things in ways that appeared better on the screen. But just in general, it was really, really well done. So I thought it was phenomenal. So not much to add, really. Other shows, I just finished Junior Bake Off in perfect timing to have the new Bake Off season start. So I was so excited and not expecting that the new season of Bake Off actually came out last night, or the first episode anyway. So I don't know how I'm feeling about the new season, though. I did enjoy Peru Baka, if you've watched the intro for the first episode. Really like that. Otherwise, Drag Race. So I love that Drag Race as a show, like, queens are very, like, scrappy survivors, and the show has been that as well, because I can tell, because Hulu is where I watch usually, and they get random seasons. All like All-Stars. I have already seen some of these queens on the regular Drag Race, because the All-Stars season, they had rights to it because it's on one network, and then the show has had like 12 different networks that it has been on, and they slowly get rights and make different deals, and you'll see a season show up here or there. So now I'm up to season 9. I think I'm like 5, 6 seasons behind what we're actually at. So as I said, I have already seen some of these queens, but it's great. It's been such a de-stressor. Yeah, it's been really, really nice when I'm having a very stressful week work-wise to be able to just shut off and go watch that. Drag Race is definitely a good escape, I think. So I'm really enjoying that one. What else? I think that is it for my week. I don't really have very much to talk about. My recommendations for the week, I have one that's from BookTube and one that's an author interview. The first one is from Fit to Be Read, who probably, if you are into sci-fi, you may already know, but you should definitely check out this specific video either way, because I'm really enjoying this idea for a series. Basically, he's interviewing authors and asking them all the same questions, and then compiling each question and the answers to that question into a video. So the first one was, why do you love sci-fi? And it was great to see the variety of authors. So he has everyone from like Greg Bear and Adrian Tchaikovsky, who we just talked about, to I think like Kat Rambo is in there. And it's just a whole bunch of authors that were really interesting to hear from and hear their range of responses that were so different about why they love sci-fi. And then the other one is really fantastic discussion with the author Sarah Kendzior, who wrote, I think most popularly, The View from Flyover Country. And I had not realized, like I knew she was Midwesterner. She's actually like from here. So she is promoting her new book, They Knew, which is about conspiracy theories, basically. So really interesting topic right now. And I think genius discussion of it because she talked specifically from a local perspective on Missouri politics in our state, which have been very difficult because people routinely vote for policies or individual bills that are very progressive, like marijuana legalization. It sounds like it's going to be on our ballot this year. We previously passed medical very successfully, but also at the same time elected someone who was completely against it and immediately turned around and said, we're going to tear this down, you know? So the policy discussions versus the candidates are very disparate. And so she talked a little bit about that and the idea of, you know, it being very complex, that people are complicated in their views, but also that there's some propaganda involved there and the politics that play into that. So that was a really interesting discussion. So she actually was live at the Ethical Society here. So I will say the video quality was pretty bad because it was like way at the back of a room. But the sound was very good, and obviously it was just two people sitting there in chairs, so nothing you really need fancy video for. So you could listen to it like a podcast and it would be fine. So I highly recommend that discussion though. I really enjoyed it, and the Q&A afterward was great as well. So those are my 2 recommendations for the week. I think that is it for me today. I hope you're having a great weekend and getting some awesome reading done. I'm gonna go tuck into this massive stack of books and see if I can finish even more of these. Get some of this off of my TBR. Thank you so much for watching. We get the best clouds when it's about to storm. It's really dark over there. And then over here it's just a beautiful, nice, fluffy cloud day. Coco has started shrimping a lot, where he just lays like this, kind of twirled with his feet up in the air. Got some really fun packing material this week. This is the most fun a cat can have. Hi, Coco.